Hey everybody, I'm Johnny Ebert. I'm a senior designer on Heart of the Swarm. Today I'm going to be talking to you about Blizzard Dota. So we've seen a lot of really cool stuff so far. And we're going to show you how we combined it all to make Blizzard Dota. So those of you who've had a chance to play it out on the show floor may have noticed that the Blizzard Dota we're showing this year is entirely different than the Blizzard Dota we showed last year. And there's a very good reason for that. We really liked what we had last year, but we sat down and we're like, have we really questioned some of the assumptions about the genre? Because we're all huge fans of it, and we're like, well, it's perfect. Let's just make it. But we're like, well, is there anything we can improve? Because that's what we're about at Blizzard. So we decided we wanted to attack it from 5 different angles. And those of you who have followed our design philosophy over the years will see a lot of Blizzard's core design values listed behind me. So let's start with fixing the fantasy. The fantasy is a very compelling one. I'm going to play a hero that joins this massive battle. I'm going to push the battle line forward. I'm going to see another hero. We're going to have this epic duel. It's going to be a major tipping point. It's going to be so awesome. Then you get in the game. And the fantasy, the optimal way to play is the exact opposite of the fantasy. You're supposed to hide under your tower. So you'll start attacking minions aggressively, and people will be like, no, you idiot. You run back and forth. And then when that right moment hits, you get the last hit in. And then you stay right under your tower, so you lure the people out of position, and someone can come down for the gank. It's cool. We all love playing it, but it's not very intuitive. So we thought, is there anything we could do to improve that? So we decided we wanted to attack this in a couple ways. First, we wanted to reward early aggression. And we've done that in a couple of ways. Towers are much softer targets than they are in traditional Dota games. So you can actually kill a tower fairly early and get a big bonus for your team. You'll also notice that bar right under the tower. That's the ammunition. We've given towers a limited amount of ammunition, and it slowly regenerates over time. So if you need to use your tower for some protection, and then you push the battle line away for a while, it'll regenerate. But if you do like Stitches is doing here in this video, if you lean on your tower too much, you're going to see, first the minions are doing a lot of damage to the tower, but you also see it's about to run out of ammunition, so it'll actually power down. So now Stitches is in a lot of trouble. Not only is he going to have to run off and not get killed, he's lost a tower very early in the game, and that's going to give the other team a very large advantage. The other thing we wanted to do is we wanted to make the fighting along the battle line more intuitive. So I talked earlier about last hitting. We actually played a couple of games with no last hitting at all, and something was definitely missing. So we asked ourselves, what do we like about last hitting? Well, first, it adds a lot of tension. You're having to time something. You're kind of sitting on the edge of your seat. You're kind of running in and out. There's a lot of positional gameplay. You have to kind of keep in mind where your opponent is. Those are very good things. So we're like, is there a way we could get that in a more intuitive way that makes more sense? So we came up with the idea of the health globe. So you see that flag bearer in the middle of this picture here. He has this globe over his head. If you kill him, he'll drop a globe that you can pick up that'll give you a pretty decent chunk of your health and mana back. And what we like about this is it still has that tension, it has that positional gameplay, you have to time it well, but it also makes a lot more sense because you understand why you're winning or losing. If you're getting your globes and denying the enemy, you'll have a lot more health and mana. And it'll be pretty obvious why. Whereas like if you're getting last hit and you're getting this gold bonus, it's going to be several minutes into the game, so there's less of that cause of an effect.
Hello. It's my turn to speak. Okay, so one of the opportunities that we saw that we could improve Blizzard Dota was the concept of boots. So there comes a certain point in Dota-style games where heroes have to buy boots. There's not a lot of gameplay to it. If you don't have boots, you get chased down by heroes with boots. And later on, if you don't improve your boots, you get chased down by heroes with the better boots. We figured that gameplay gets kind of like some of the back and forth gameplay that you want, but we thought we could do it a little bit better. So in Blizzard Dota, we introduced the concept of mounts. So you can see here, our heroes are preparing to go into battle. After a brief 2-second channel time, they actually will mount up. As you can see, while mounted, the heroes actually move a lot faster. This gets you the gameplay of what boots get you as far as strategic value goes, because you can respond to threats, you can get to places a lot faster. But it's actually a lot easier to respond to like a lane being pushed, and it also gets you into places that the enemy would not expect. Another thing that you can also do with mounts is chase down that enemy hero that's trying to get away, and then you can perform the finishing blow.
So we've talked about ways we're trying to fix the fantasy. Let's talk about another thing that's very near and dear to our hearts at Blizzard. It's making our game easy to learn and difficult to master. So we're all huge fans, and none of us wanted to change anything at first. But then we kind of asked ourselves, like, how do you play Dota? Walk me through it. And we're like, well, it's really easy. First, you go to the wiki, you pick a hero you like, and you go to the wiki page. And that hero is going to have 3 or 4 builds. And then of that, you pick the build that sounds kind of cool. It's going to have 2 or 3 item builds, so you pick your item build. And then if he's a jungler, he has 1 or 2 jungling patterns he's going to use. And so you're sitting there with your laptop next to your PC, and you're kind of reading back and forth. And we're like, really? You know, and it's really cool that we're teaching kids the value of studying hard, you know, for a test and stuff. But it doesn't make for very compelling gameplay. So we always felt at Blizzard like the complexity and the depth needs to be on the back end. I could spend 3 minutes explaining to you how to play chess. You could spend a lifetime never mastering it. That's where the depth belongs, in the back end. So we've decided we needed to kind of attack this in a couple of ways. The first one was the stats. The stats in traditional Dota games, it's on par in complexity with something like World of Warcraft. And it works really well in a game like World of Warcraft because you have like 100 hours or way more to kind of ease into it. You can sit in Dalaran, you can sit in Stormwind, you can browse the auction house, you can try different things on, you can hit your targeting dummy, you know, learn your rotation. Dota, not so much. You have like 30 seconds maybe to pick your item, get out to the battlefield, a lot going on. So we thought we needed to kind of reduce the stats to their essence. And what we kind of settled on were health, damage, and mastery. Mastery is a very simple stat. It just lowers the cooldown on your abilities, gives you some extra mana. And we got rid of what we call hidden stats, or stats that make you do math. You know, armor, kind of cool, but it's really just a hidden form of health that's making you do math in your head. Attack speed, very similar, very hidden form of damage. I do 70 damage, he does 50 damage, I'm gonna kill him. Oh wait, his attack speed is 3 times faster than me. I forgot to carry the 1, I lose. Not so cool.
So we decided to also do another overhaul on a major system, which is items. And as Johnny was talking about earlier, I mean, this system works really well for the kind of game that, you know, Dota Style is trying to make. But after a while, it's gotten a little bit complicated because now you have to have tabs to sort of navigate through, like the type of item that you want to find. And then you have to memorize that, like, if I have this axe, and I have this sword, and I spend some money, I get this really cool axe sword, but it's something that you're going to have to learn over time. So for Blizzard Dota, we decided to explore a simpler direction. So what we did for Blizzard Dota is that we actually simplified the number of items so that they can all be displayed on a single page. And then, here, as you can see in the screenshot, we actually list out what all the items do, so it's very easy to find what you want. With the items that we have left over, we felt that they offered the most gameplay, and we've also gotten rid of the concept of recipes. Instead of just simply getting this item and spending money to get what you want, you just click on the item, and if you have enough money, and if it's an item that you can upgrade, you just spend money, and now you have a better version of the item. The next thing that we wanted to talk about as far as remaking Blizzard Dota was approaching our hero design a little differently so that we can offer you guys a more epic hero list. One of the really cool things about our trans-dimensional pocket universe that happens to take place in Cyberworld is that there aren't any real rules as to like why certain heroes could be in here and why certain heroes aren't. So we're allowed to use heroes from all of our Blizzard universes, whether it's like Arthas and Uther from Warcraft, Zeratul from StarCraft 2, or StarCraft, or Witch Doctor from Diablo. After we came up with a really long list of heroes, we decided to apply some RTS design philosophy to sort of figure out what those hero roles are and what those roles do. The first of those hero roles is actually the tank. Now these guys are like the beefcake, like frontline warriors. They've got a lot of health. They have really strong self-sustaining abilities. Like Stitches can devour on a minion and heal himself while dealing damage to the minion. These guys play very sticky because they have very strong crowd control abilities and they have a lot of HP and they generally have some good AOE abilities. So if you let them like hang around in your line too much, they're just going to wear you down. The second class is actually the DPS class. Now these guys are designed for assassination and for ganking. They have the highest burst damage out of all the heroes in the entire game, and they also have really strong positioning skills, so they can really put the hurt on the enemy if they get into the right spot at the right time. However, they are very, very squishy, meaning that if they get focused down, they just drop like flies. So they really rely on the tank to sort of provide that frontline defense so that they can really put the hurt on. The third type of class is actually support. As the name implies, these guys offer a lot of support for all of the heroes on the battlefield. They dispense out invaluable buffs and healing that really help a team maintain its tempo. One of the really cool things about support heroes is that when we changed around our game system so that we removed last hit, support heroes no longer were penalized for playing passively in the lane because that's sort of what they do. They need to sort of stick and move throughout and provide healing where it's necessary. But they're not getting, they're actually getting all the money for just participating in the battle. And it sort of like feeds into our concept of having like more team play oriented gameplay that Johnny will talk about later. The final hero class that we felt that we needed for Blizzard Dota kind of like just made sense when we were designing it, and that's the concept of a siege hero. So at the end of the day, like Dota is a game about destroying the enemy base. Why not have a hero that's just completely dedicated to destroying the enemy base? A lot of these siege heroes, actually all the siege heroes, have abilities that outrange towers, and if left unchecked, a single siege hero can push a lane from the beginning all the way to the end. So it really puts the pressure on the enemy to respond quickly or they're going to lose. We really feel like this is a fun, like sort of heroic opportunity for people that want to play that way. So I've talked a little bit about siege heroes. Let's see one in action. This is Warfield is actually sieging up, and now you can see his auto attack is actually outranging the tower. As the minions come in close, he's going to drop a bunch of mines and lay down a bunch of suppressive firepower that do a lot of very low DPS, but it's AoE effect, so it's great against minions. As you can see here, like, Warfield's minions are actually coming up, but Warfield actually didn't really need it. He can actually take out this tower all by himself. If there were DPS meters in Blizzard Dota, these guys would be topping the charts all the time. The final thing, I'm sure many of you who are familiar with Blizzard design philosophy is that we decided to design our heroes with core game mechanics that we didn't want to duplicate from one hero to another. All the heroes are going to have signature abilities that will make them stand out from the rest, and we really want to put a lot of tender love and care into each and every one of our heroes.
So another thing we wanted to do is we wanted to create a more exciting metagame, and the cue we took from that was StarCraft 2. And what we love about StarCraft 2 is the metagame is varied. You have short games, medium games, long games. You have games where you die to dirty tricks. I mean, we've all been 7-pooled by an intrepid Zergling player, and first time it happens, we're angry. We're like, this is not the game Dustin Browder designed. You should be ashamed of yourself, sir. But then you're like, well, maybe I should try it. And then you try it to somebody, like, haha, this is kind of cool, you know? So it adds depth, the timing pushes like a Void Wraith Rush, really cool. We wanted to try to add that to Blizzard Dota. We want games that end very quickly at the 10-minute mark or at the 20-minute mark, 30-minute mark, multiple ways to win. Now, one way we're trying to do this is we're trying to introduce the concept of territory control. You have that river running across the map, divides it very evenly, towers kind of establish some control for you. You have those vast swaths of jungles that are no man's land. Well, we thought, what if we could put something in there that you could fight over, that you could capture, that would help your cause? So we put these merc camps, ogre merc camps out in the jungle. So you come out to a merc camp, and if you attack the ogres in the camp, they'll fight back. Usually it's in the mid-game, you need a couple of teammates to help you out with this. I'm kind of cheating here. And then once the ogres are dead, you'll see you start capturing the totem to the right. And then once the totem's captured, you see the ogres are very impressed with your fighting prowess. They're going to join your cause. Now, the enemy can come back and capture this from you, but when you capture it, you'll see one melee minion and one ranged minion have been replaced by ogres. And they're much tougher. You see the ranged ogre in the back is actually doing area of effect damage. So what would normally be a very even fight here is actually becomes very lopsided just with one camp. So if you capture a couple of these camps and the enemy doesn't respond, the game's going to start to end very quickly. Towers are going to get knocked down, lanes are going to get swept, you're going to have to respond, and it's going to spark a lot of really cool group fights.
So another one of the things that we wanted to make a more exciting moment in our game was the concept of the big ass-kicking boss that at a certain point in the game, a bunch of high-level heroes go out and attack, and when you kill the enemy, you get some kind of buff, and you get some kind of item, and it sort of gets the gameplay that you want, but it's a lot of power without gameplay. So we decided to do something a little bit more interesting for our game. Here you can see is our Stone Zealot, which I believe that our artists actually want to change into some like mechanical cyber ninja, but that's totally up to them. I mean, I kind of like the Stone Zealot. So you can see here it actually takes our 3 high-level heroes quite a long time to destroy this Stone Zealot, and it's still a lot of commitment in that they have to stay out of the lanes. However, the difference is though that when you actually kill it, he thinks that you're awesome. And then he restores all of his health, and he actually walks down the lane to go and fight for you. Now, you can imagine at this point that the enemy is kind of shaking in their boots because there's a global announcement, and you can see this like red skull moving down the minimap, so it really just forces a team fight. And then this guy, like, he kicks a lot of ass. I mean, like, you fought him earlier, so you kind of see what he does. Like, he actually outranges, like, minions and stuff. And by himself, he actually outranges towers. If the enemy team does not respond in time, you know, they're going to be pushed all the way back to their tower. We think that this is a more exciting gameplay than just getting a buff.
Final thing we're trying to do is we're trying to spice up the metagame by offering multiple maps. Initially, we were a little uneasy about this one. We'd kind of come to see the Dota map was always the same for a reason. It's like the football field or the basketball court. You don't change the shape of the field. You don't change the dimensions. But we started playing around with different maps, and we finally, you know, a lot of them really sucked at first, as you might expect. But you know, one day we came up with this design, and you know, we're not entirely happy with it. But what happened was we kind of had fun, and then we'd forgotten to update the loading screen image. It had the old map, so we were playing it again the next day, and we're all sitting in the same room, and we saw the old map's image come up, and there was like all these groans around the room, like, oh man, I got to play the old map. And suddenly, you know, the collective light bulb went off in our head, because like, hey, yeah, this is a really good angle to pursue. We need to have multiple maps. Game's still going to feel very familiar. It's going to feel like Dota, but you're going to get the change in timing. You're going to get change in strategies. You're going to get change in tempo.
Oh, and to sort of dogpile on that concept, I was actually one of the people that was very against the idea of making multiple maps. But when I was talking to one of our designers, Matt Cooper, about it, he actually summed it up really nicely. And I mean, he put it this way, like, we're making Blizzard Dota with multiple maps in mind. So all of these maps are going to still play like Dota, but there's going to be a lot of cool variations in the gameplay itself. I mean, Johnny talked about like having multiple lanes. I mean, maybe you can have 4 lanes, maybe you can have 2 lanes, but what if you vary up the number of army nodes? What if you vary up where the Stone Zealot position is? What if you vary up where the actual base is? What if you spawn in a different location than where your base is? I mean, there's a lot of possibilities out there. I mean, all of us have played on, you know, Lost Temple like 10, 50, 100 times, but after the 100th time, it gets a little bit boring. We've got this really awesome StarCraft 2 map editor that lets us iterate through a lot of different maps very quickly, and we've got a lot of collective RTS map design, so we can really try a lot of different concepts. The final thing that I'd like to add is that one of the cool things about making multiple maps, it lets us explore a lot of potential different locations. Maybe you're fighting, you know, on Core Hall. Maybe you're fighting in Tristram. Maybe you're actually fighting in Onyxia's lair, and Onyxia is actually your big bad boss that you fight, and when you fight her, she actually fights for you.
So the final thing we really felt we had to attack, and maybe this one was the most important, was kind of what the genre has become really famous for, which is just the rage, the pure rage you get from your teammates, right? And, you know, and I think it's really easy to kind of hand wave it and just assume that Dota players tend to be chaotic evil, and that's the end of it. But we thought, well, maybe we need to kind of take responsibility as designers, and is there anything we're doing to kind of inflame them or create unnecessary tension? So the first thing we decided to attack was game length. Like the typical genre game lasts anywhere from 45 minutes to 90 minutes. So if one of your teammates is doing very poorly and you just get to play over your lunch hour, your lunch hour is gone, and you're probably a half hour in. So the stakes are way higher. You're very angry. So we've tried to really lower the average game length, and we've gotten it to about an average internally. We have no idea what's going to happen when you guys get a hold of it, but internally we've gotten our average game length to about 20 minutes, and it feels really good. We had some that have ended as soon as 10 minutes, and it doesn't feel bad. It feels really decisive. You're like, oh, okay, we kind of messed that up. It's over, and you know the pain is ended quickly. Some of our more epic ones last maybe like 30 minutes, but again, that feels kind of cool, feels kind of epic. But the thing is, I can get a couple in over my lunch hour. I can get a couple in when I get home before dinner. That's kind of what we're going for. The other thing was trying to remove very obvious conflict points. I mean, the obvious one is the carry. You know, you walk into, you don't have to be a psychologist. If you walk into a group, it's like, hey, okay, one of you gets to be the superstar. The rest of you are his stooges. Who wants to be the superstar? Who wants to be the superstar? A lot of hands are going to go up, right? And even if you don't want the pressure of being the superstar, you kind of resent the fact that there's a superstar. And, you know, I think we've all been trapped in that score screen chat room with super special guy who went 20-0, and he's getting a little cranky that we're all not telling him how amazing he is because he went 20-0 and we went 7-5. It's just a very bad design. So one of the things we fixed earlier is the making towers much softer targets kind of fixed this for us. Now what happens is if I'm the guy in a solo in a lane, yeah, I'll get experience a little faster, I'll get more gold. But the other thing is the other team's like, hey, there's a guy alone by himself in a lane. Let's double team him. Let's try to get that tower down very quickly. So now, you know, the solo guy actually has a lot of pressure now. It's kind of it's an important role, but it's not this super glorious superstar role. It's kind of like being a nose tackle in football. You're at the bottom of the pile a lot, but you're kind of like helping hold the battle line. The other thing we're trying to do is get rid of the concept of kills, deaths, and assists. It's just a horrible, horrible way to score this game. Imagine like if in the Dungeon Finder in WoW, the guy that got the last hit on every mob got all the loot and the experience. It would be a train wreck. You'd be at each other's throats. I mean, you're kind of at each other's throats sometimes to begin with, but yeah, it's something like that. It's insanity. So we got rid of the concept of kills, deaths, and assists, and we just replaced it with a takedown. 3 of us kill one guy. It doesn't matter who got the last hit, because that's really not important if you think about it. All 3 of us get a takedown. The experience and the gold, they're shared equally. And what it does is it kind of removes the individualism that the game is really kind of putting up front. And it's putting it away from a hardcore individual concept to a hardcore team concept. And we know, those of us that have played WoW, the hardcore team concept can be just as hardcore, if not more hardcore than the hardcore individual concept. But it's more gratifying, it's more exciting, because you're coming together as a team, and you're not really focused on who got the last hit or who got the most kills. You're focused on getting that enemy core down. And the final thing we really love about this is it allows us to reward unselfish play. So this is Uther. Now, when we first designed Uther, Uther couldn't kill you if you tried to help him kill you. That's how little damage he does. But what is awesome about Uther is he can really tip a team fight. He can really keep people alive. And when we first designed him, there were people in the room like, no one's going to play that. No, this game's about killing people. If I can't kill people, no, stupid. And we're like, well, let's try it. No, stupid. And, but once we kind of started adding these more team-oriented dynamics, like Rich mentioned earlier, we got rid of last hitting, we got rid of last hitting on heroes. He became one of the most popular heroes because, wow, he's like a franchise player. If you don't have an Uther or a Thrall on your team, man, you got to work way harder to stay alive in a group fight. If you get focus fired, oh man, it's ugly. So being able to kind of like make the heroes more distinct was a really nice side benefit, and to allow people to like play support, because that's a really fun role to play. So closing thoughts. It's out there on the show floor. What's out there? We're not finished yet. We're still kind of questioning things. We're still attacking some of these things. So what you see today may not be what you see when the beta comes out. But we really love you guys to go out and try it. We'd really love to hear your thoughts. And most importantly, we're really excited to see what you guys can create when you get a hold of these mod tools we've covered today.
And as a shameless plug, half an hour after this panel ends, the StarCraft 2 art team is actually going to be holding a panel to sort of preview some of the hero concepts that we are thinking of using for our heroes. And now we'd like to open up to Q&A. I'm not sure where the microphones are, but they're somewhere back there. Feel free to ask about any of the topics that we covered today, whether it's the new arcade, the cutscene editor, and the new art tools, or Blizzard Dota.